Master the art of selective forgetting, Nietzsche's hidden method for mental freedom. Listen closely. Not all memory is power. Some of it is poison. Some of it is a leash around your neck, a tombstone over your will, a slow, suffocating death disguised as knowledge. What do the weak do? They remember everything. Every insult, every failure, every chain society has ever wrapped around them. They catalogue it, nurse it, worship it. Their minds are mausoleums of regret and hesitation. And what do the strong do? They forget. Not out of ignorance, but out of strength. Out of necessity. They erase the useless, the self-defeating, the inherited burdens of a past that does not belong to them. The advantage of a bad memory is that one enjoys several times the same good things for the first time. Nietzsche. But let us go further. The advantage of a selective memory is that one can destroy and rebuild oneself at will. The weak drown in the past. The strong shape the future. The tyranny of memory. Your past is not your identity. It is raw material, nothing more. But society has told you otherwise. Remember who you are, they say. What they really mean is, stay where we put you, obey your history, never escape. They teach you to remember every failure, every betrayal, every rule. And you, obedient as a domesticated dog, comply. You allow your past to dictate your present. You kneel before memory as if it were a god. But I tell you this, memory is no god, it is a tool. And like any tool, it can be cast aside when it no longer serves you. Selective forgetting versus repression versus mindfulness. Some may ask, is this not just repression by another name? Is forgetting not the coward's way out? No, repression is weakness, selective forgetting is power. Psychology warns that some forms of forgetting, particularly unconscious repression, can be harmful. Trauma that is buried instead of processed often returns as anxiety, flashbacks, and self-sabotage. Studies on PTSD confirm that avoidance leads to greater suffering. The white bear experiment, for example, demonstrated that attempting to suppress a thought makes it persist even more. But Nietzsche would challenge this view. He would ask, is forgetting the problem, or is it merely revealing the weakness of those who cannot master their own minds? A weak person forgets out of fear. A strong person forgets because they choose to. One is running from reality, the other is shaping it. Psychologists acknowledge that resilience separates those who suffer from their past from those who rise above it. Those who do not break under trauma are not merely lucky. They are strong. They do not repress, nor do they dwell. They extract what is useful, discard what is not, and move forward. This is not repression, nor is it passive mindfulness. This is active forgetting. The act of cutting away what no longer serves you so that you may evolve. Selective forgetting and the creative genius. Many of history's most brilliant minds did not simply accept forgetting as an accident of time. They used it as a tool to reinvent themselves, to break free of old paradigms, and to create new realities. Pablo Picasso famously declared, "Every act of creation is first an act of destruction." He revolutionized modern art because he refused to be imprisoned by past successes. Every time he mastered a style, he forgot it. He abandoned realism, shattered perspective with cubism, and continually reinvented himself. Had he clung to past triumphs, he would have stagnated. Friedrich Nietzsche, a major influence on Nietzsche, understood that creativity demands a certain forgetfulness. He believed true genius arises when the mind lets go of rational constraints and embraces the irrational, the spontaneous. He even kept rotten apples in his desk because their scent helped him disengage from overthinking, allowing inspiration to emerge freely. Schiller knew that to create, one must forget. Miles Davis, one of jazz's greatest innovators, lived by the philosophy, "Don't play what's there, play what's not there." He despised repetition, telling his bandmates, "Forget what you played yesterday." He deliberately erased his own past styles to force himself into new creative frontiers. This is selective forgetting in its purest form, not an accident, but a strategy. Steve Jobs, too, understood that attachment to past success breeds mediocrity. He believed in throwing away everything you know when it no longer serves growth. He famously discarded ideas that once defined Apple, forcing his company to disrupt itself before others could. Those who clung to the old ways, he removed. Stagnation was a disease he refused to tolerate. David Bowie lived by the same principle. He never allowed himself to become predictable, erasing past identities like shedding old skin. Ziggy Stardust, the Thin White Duke, the Berlin Era, Black Star, each was a rebirth. Bowie forgot himself over and over again, ensuring that his creativity remained limitless. What unites all these figures? The refusal to be trapped by memory. They did not passively let go. They actively destroyed what no longer served them. Forget to create, forget to become. Nietzsche saw forgetting not as an accident, nor as a flaw, but as a necessity for transformation. You cannot carry every past failure, every past self, every past belief, and expect to be free. You must forget strategically. The person who clings to every past humiliation remains shackled by resentment. The artist who cannot let go of their first masterpiece never creates a second. The thinker who refuses to abandon old ideas never finds new ones. Forgetting is not a loss. It is a weapon. Do you want to be weighed down by the past or propelled by the future? Modern techniques that recommend active forgetting as a strategy. Nietzsche's concept of selective forgetting is not just philosophical. It aligns with modern psychology, neuroscience, and performance optimization. While most discussions on memory focus on improving recall, cutting-edge research and techniques emphasize that deliberately forgetting certain information can enhance well-being, creativity, and decision-making. Here are modern approaches that advocate active forgetting as a strategic tool, along with simple exercises to implement each one. 1. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, letting go of self-defeating thoughts. CBT helps reprogram the mind by identifying negative thoughts, challenging them, and replacing them with constructive beliefs. Since rumination, excessive remembering, is a primary cause of anxiety and depression, learning to interrupt the cycle is crucial. Exercise, the thought replacement technique. Write down one negative thought that repeatedly holds you back. Below it, write a stronger, more empowering alternative, e.g., replace "I always fail" with "I am learning and improving." Every time the old thought resurfaces, mentally replace it with the new one. Repeat daily. Nietzschean connection. If a belief limits your ability to become who you are, erase it and replace it with one that strengthens you. 2. Exposure therapy, desensitizing emotional triggers. Facing what you fear, rather than avoiding it, reduces its emotional power. Repeated exposure trains the brain to forget the fear response associated with certain memories. Exercise, the fear exposure challenge. Identify one thing from your past that still triggers negative emotions, e.g., fear of public speaking due to a past failure. Expose yourself to a mild version of that fear intentionally, e.g., speaking in front of a mirror or recording yourself. Repeat this small exposure daily, increasing intensity over time. Nietzschean connection. The strong do not avoid pain, they face it until it loses its power. Forgetting does not mean denial, it means stripping the past of its ability to dominate you. 3. Thought suppression and directed forgetting, training the brain to let go. Neuroscientists have found that the brain can intentionally suppress information through exercises like the think-no-think paradigm, deliberately preventing retrieval of unwanted memories. Exercise, the memory blocker drill. Select a memory or thought you want to weaken. When it arises, immediately redirect your attention to a neutral or positive thought, a mantra, a song, a mental image. Over time, your brain will retrieve the unwanted thought less frequently. Nietzschean connection. The mind is not an archive, it is a battlefield where only what serves you should remain. 4. The Zeigarnik effect, forgetting what no longer matters. The brain naturally clings to unfinished tasks but forgets completed ones. Closure helps erase unnecessary mental clutter. Exercise, the mental closure ritual. Before bed, write down 3 things that have been bothering you. For each, write a closing statement, e.g., "This is over and I am moving on." Tear up the paper or delete the note. Treat it as done. Nietzschean connection. If you want to evolve, you must close the book on your past selves and move forward without looking back. 5. Meditation and mindfulness, forgetting through presence. Mindfulness trains the brain to let go of thoughts rather than holding on to them. Studies show that long-term meditators naturally forget negative experiences faster than non-meditators. Exercise, the 5-minute thought dissolution. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. When a past regret or intrusive thought arises, visualize it as a cloud drifting away. Do not engage with it. Just let it pass. Nietzschean connection. The Übermensch does not dwell on the past. He exists fully in the present, unburdened by old wounds and outdated beliefs. 6. Psychological distance, forgetting through perspective. Distancing yourself from a memory weakens its emotional grip. Studies show that third-person self-talk and changing time perspectives help reframe past experiences. Exercise, the observer technique. Recall a painful memory as if you were watching it happen to someone else in a movie. Narrate it as a neutral observer. He went through this, but he learned and grew. This simple shift rewires the brain to make past events feel less personal, less immediate, and less powerful. Nietzschean connection. You are not your past. You are the one choosing how to interpret it. 7. Digital forgetting, decluttering your mental space. A cluttered digital life keeps unnecessary memories alive. Information fasting improves focus and creativity by forgetting the irrelevant. Exercise, the digital reset. Delete 5 things today. Old emails, social media posts, photos, or accounts that no longer serve you. Make unsubscribing and deleting a weekly habit to reduce digital memory overload. Nietzschean connection. A mind cluttered with useless noise cannot create. Forget the trivial so you can focus on the profound. Conclusion. Forgetting is a skill, not a flaw. Modern science confirms what Nietzsche knew instinctively. Forgetting is not failure, but freedom. Those who cannot forget remain prisoners of the past. They carry their history like a coffin strapped to their back. They let old wounds dictate their future, but those who master the art of forgetting move forward. They shed past selves like dead skin. They silence irrelevant memories. They unchain themselves from history and become something new. The only question is, what will you erase today?